Hello.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Really nice to see you. It's nice to have you all here for the replay and to be here.
Mhm.
So today we're going and diving really deep into divine union with all of our relationships. So how we're moving through relationships one at a time matters so much. How we're connecting with the masculine and the feminine within our own body, how we see ourselves, how we're seeing our own attachment, our parts. And we use a lot of this terminology and we realize that we actually want to get on the same page of terminology and understanding before we can go so much deeper. So as we bring up these different parts or attachments moving forward, you will listen like, that's what they're talking about. Okay, that's where my parts are. Oh, I already have a relationship and an understanding of what they are pointing to. So this just feels like a really important basis as we're going to keep diving deeper and deeper every single Tuesday on these relationship dynamics and how to be getting the most out of your life because everything is relational. And even if we went into a cave, we'd be having a relationship with God. It's all this relational. So, yeah, I'm just so glad you're here and then we get to drop in with you.
Yeah, so that being said, I'm just going to share a little story of something that's just alive for me right now, just to, yeah, share some vulnerability with all of you and share just a little snippet of what it looks like, the lens that I view the relationships in my life through. And so the closest and dearest relationships to me are my family members. And I have a father who is disabled, and I have been his caregiver for many of the most recent years of his life, along with my wife and along with my brother Leif. And my father's a dear, sweet man, and he really, he needs support. He needs people to advocate for him. He needs people to help him make decisions. And so he had chosen me and my brother as the power of attorney to help support him in all of those decisions. And it feels like a huge responsibility. And it feels like an honor that he trusts me and he asked me to step in and support him in this way. And so we recently moved him into memory care, and we feel very good about that. And he's got so much support now. And I've noticed that some of his family members who have been estranged for a long time, who haven't been in communication with us or with him for long stretches of time, are coming in, and they're viewing what's going on from a place of unawareness, of not knowing what's going on with him, with his dementia and all of that. And it's been interesting to experience these relationships that are estranged, but these are people. For me, growing up, I fell in love with them because they were my aunts and uncles, who I spent Christmas with and went on ski trips with. And so as a young boy, I developed a connection with them, and I developed a love for them. And so I noticed that as these people are coming in, and as they are being aggressive and making attacks and accusations that are not founded on anything factual, they're just coming from a place of fear and worry in them. And I noticed this little boy in me wants to reach for connection, wants love from them, wants to receive love from them. And what we've noticed recently in these relationships is that that's really not available. And even the knowing that that's not available doesn't always mean that it's an easy shift of, oh, okay, love isn't available in this relationship. I'm just going to shift and create a boundary. And sometimes that can be easy. But with our closest and most dear relationships, that can be really, really challenging, especially when we're feeling that reach. And so at this point in the journey, I know and trust my decisions around my father's care. I know and trust my wife, Ra, and my brother, Leif, that we are going to continue to take really good care of him as we have over the last 6 years. Um, and it's okay that others will have their feelings about it and fears about it, and that's okay. And just to create a really clear and healthy boundary around that, so that I can come from a place of security, knowing what's available in that relationship, honoring what's available, and not allowing myself to be pulled in from a place of attachment, pulled in from one of my younger parts that just desperately wants to be in connection and in loving connection all the time, especially with family. And this today, what we're going to be going into is, how we come back into divine union, how we find our way into these sacred spaces of relationship and relatedness, where we're really taking responsibility for what we are bringing from our past into these situations, and how we navigate them, specifically how we navigate conflict. Because when we talk about relationship, we're really talking about conflict. What that means is that, that is where relationship gets to be defined, and it's where relationship gets to arrive, where it's going to arrive, whether that's divine union or divine distortion.
And that's where we get all of our information from, of either thriving and blossoming in the relational field, or knowing that's actually toxic and we're not going to be met. Right? So same as what Dylan was just speaking about with his little boy that he loves, his aunt and uncle, right? They spent years and years together, a month, a year together. So this little boy in him, like the really young one, loves these people. So of course it's going to reach. So then when it's not met, how much a doll, right? Like the sacred masculine and papa that lives in him, the sacred mama that lives in him, how can they be online and be like, hey, we got you. Oh, actually notice that this is happening and I got you. It's actually safe here. And that's ideally what's happening through every trigger. And it's so hard. It's like the Olympics when we have these core family members that aren't meeting this reach over and over again. And even if they do meet the reach, then they put you down, or they use their fears, right? Of, well, you're taking terrible care of your dad. You don't care about him. It's that young one in you, even if you know you are. Wow, that's hitting a core value, right? Of your care, your devotion to your father, the thing you spend so much time cultivating. Right? So then how do you even meet that? Right? So there are all these incredible opportunities to be holding these parts of the divine mama and papa within you. So we're going to go a little bit into right now just what parts work even is. Because if we can understand that, then we can start understanding, right, all the terminology that we're even sharing about. So much of what this is basically you that are connected to source and to the divine. Like that's where your soul is deeply connected. That's you. Just want you to take a few deep breaths, and just connecting back to you right now, right? It's like the peaceful, everything's like regulated and yummy and rested. Usually you can even know if you're in this place of the connection with your soul, the true you, when your body is in that rested posture. Your breath is open, receptive. Your body's open and receptive. I always like to check the jaw, the throat, the belly, the genitals. Oh, if they feel open, you probably feel really regulated right now. Like this is your relationship to true self. Yeah, and so just feeling that. This is the core essence of who you are. Like the self is completely calm and it's compassionate. And this promotes the inner harmony and healing. Now, from here, feeling in this regulated, receptive space, we're going to talk a little bit about the actual parts of the self. Right? So we all have different parts within us, similar to characters in a play or members of a family. These parts are like inner personalities. They can influence how we think, feel, and behave. So, for example, if we have an anxious part, comes out maybe in social situations, and then maybe there's a part that seeks approval of others, like the people pleaser that exists within us. And maybe there's a confident part that handles challenges really effectively. And they're really important parts. And when something's happening, right? So it's just important. Like, there's the true self you that's regulated, that's in divine connection, completely receptive. And then we have the part that are, oh, that one's anxious. Okay, what's the anxious one feel like? Right? They depict it so well in the Inside Out movie. Inside Out 2 had this anxious part. But it's where you can actually even see it. You can even see where your own anxiety lives, where your own places are. And maybe there's a frequency to it. Maybe there's an age to it if you get really familiar with kind of where it stems from. It can look a certain way. There's a lot of stories. And then we can get with maybe your a productive part. When that actually like, takes steps forward, leads the way. Maybe they're wearing like really great hiking shoes or whatever their outfit is. Or maybe they're just as a business person. Or like productivity part. Or like when it's running the show, just like a character in a play, you're like, oh, this is what's really activated right now. And when we can see them all as parts, it's just so supportive. Like, oh, who you are is the true self that's connected and receptive. Everything else is just a part. So when you can even see it as that, there's a separateness that's open, that gets created. It immediately helps create a little bit of space of, oh, that's not you. That's not the real you. And sometimes when these parts come out, even say the anxious one, there will be a protector part or a manager. And some of those parts act as protectors, aiming to keep us safe from emotional pain or harm. So these parts might manifest as a defense, like anger, withdrawal, perfectionism. And then managers, on the other hand, focus on controlling our environment to prevent perceived threats. So some of us have extremely brilliant managers that almost feel like they're connected to the truth. Almost. And in that spot where it's almost connected to truth, but it's a little bit off, is where like righteousness can come from. Like how many times in an argument or a fight with a beloved, with a family member, when there's a real core trigger, you're like, no, I know the way. It is, I know where we are going. I got you. It's in the service of protection, as you know. But if you look at your body language, right, even as I'm naming that, well, I know, there's some anger, probably some tension in the jaw. My body's a little bit concaved. Right? Like Dylan's family members in a story that are reaching out, coming out with a lot of righteousness right now. That they know their brother and what their brother's needs are, even though they have not been around for 7 years of his care. And his brother doesn't want them there. But they know, right? So just like feel where that's like slightly off. I'm like, oh, hey, whew. I have such deep care for my brother, and I'd love to hear and be curious on what his care is. I hold him so deeply in my heart, and right, I have a really caring part. It's connected to my heart. I feel such love for my brother. I want to make sure that he is cared for. And, that would still be a manager that's coming in, right? The deep care. Oh, that's tender. That's vulnerable. That's so sweet to touch. And then on top of that sweet part would be a manager. I'm going to make sure there are no perceived threats. So this really caring one can live in the heart and be protected. Right? So then this manager comes down and goes, hey, I just want to make sure that everything is here, it's good, it's aligned. Right? Like we're here for all perceived threats. The protector of the sweet one that cares goes, you're wrong. I know my brother. You're all wrong. You're taking horrible care of him. F you. Well, okay. Right? And then that brings up, like, oh, I have to receive that. Those triggering moments. But just to show you, like, it gets so intricate as we touch these beautiful places because we're, honestly, Dylan's aunt and uncle are touching are such a deep love for their brother. That's what we're hitting. But then the reaction of that is really difficult. And then you're not even touching, right? As the person, right? In the relational field, we're not having heart-to-heart conversations about how much we love Dylan's dad and their brother. None of those conversations are happening. All we're having conversations about is that we're wrong and that they know. And it's like, how many of you have situations like this within your own family and you're just like, my heart, I feel so missed. This feels so sad. Oh, or you have a boss and like you're doing work and you feel so aligned with your work and you give a project, you're like, oh, I did a really great job. Or like a teacher growing up and you bring this project, you're like, oh, I did a really great job. I care. There's like heart, like, oh, I care. It's like a vulnerable thing to even share because you care about it. And there's like, oh, this is wrong. I know more. You stink. Like that kind of energy. And when that comes out in our own selves, it's so painful and hurtful to then go and grab that part of ourselves. And be like, oh, hey, I got you, baby. Like, it's okay. Do you know how resourced you need to be to have a vulnerable part like that reach in the world? And then basically an adult just go, boop, nope. You have to be so deeply resourced in your body to be like, oh, hey, that vulnerability was hard, but I got you. I'm that daddy. I'm that mommy that's like, oh, you're just safe in my arms. Come cuddle with me. I got you. Oh, you're crying, baby. I got you. You tried so hard. We'll make those changes, but you tried so hard. How they talked to you wasn't nice. I got you. I really saw how much you cared. That takes a lot of resource. And I'm saying that because when we have these misses of it comes out, this care, and then it is missed, and then instead of us just being the divine mom and pop, right, in the relationship, be like, I got you. I'm going to reply to that person really calmly, really beautifully. I'm just going to go and like care for this one and redo the project and give it back. It's like the Olympics. What will most likely happen if this happens enough, or if you're not fully resourced, is your protector's going to come out. You just gave something from your heart, right? Your protector of your sacred one. So the part of you that really cares, it's a young one that's like, oh, I did so great on this project. Well, the protector of that is going to be like, well, F you. I love my dad. I'm taking great care of him. Where have you even been? Who are you to say that? Right? So that's the protector. And then the manager comes in and goes like, oh, I'm here to to eliminate any conflict, any threats that are about to happen. Well, how do I, right? This manager is, well, how do I make a boundary? How do I cut you out? How do I avoid? How do I run away? That's the way to do it. Why? Because this manager, even how smart they are, it's coming from a part. It's not coming from you in your true essence going like, oh, I really hear that I need a boundary right now. This is not safe. This is not okay for me. Thank you for your wisdom, manager, that I need a boundary. Thank you, protector, for keeping my young ones safe, because that was scary and not okay. And okay, how do I use that wisdom of what's needed? And then connect back into this place where I am receptive, I am calm, I am regulated, I am open. Oh, okay, that's the sort of boundary that needs to come through. Great. Okay, no one's able to talk to me that way, right? Connecting that essence and be like, oh, the divine Papa says, no, no one can talk to me that way. I got you. I'm right here with you. And that divine mama comes in. She goes, oh, I love you for making this boundary. That is hard. Come rest on me. I'm going to hold you and all your young ones that reached and reached for it to be okay in that relationship, reached to be met. And I'm just going to hold. Boundary is such hard work, right? Just please remember to mute yourselves. Come in so we hold the responsibility of a sacred replay for people. And just staying with like, oh, this is so much regulation, so much divine connection to actually get to be in this space, to make those choices. So that's why we're laying the groundwork here, and this is why we're doing this every single Tuesday. Well, how do you actually cultivate this divine Papa that I'm speaking about, the divine masculine within you? That when a part comes up that's like sacred and reaches and it's missed once again by another human, your divine Papa's like, hey, I'm just right here. I got you. I'm so cultivated. This muscle's so strong. Hey, baby, I got you. It's okay. You're angry. Hey, baby, I got you. No worries at all. Like, you are safe right here. Let's work together with your manager and come up with a good activity for you. Like, huh. And then the mom was like, oh, hey, baby. Oh, you seem so angry. Just come rest here. It's okay. I got you. How do we create this muscle and strengthen it so deeply that that's just the reaction every single time? Yeah, it takes practice. It takes meeting over and over and over again. And when you have this reach and it's missed, that hey, it can be connected right here. And for these younger parts, oh, hey, you can look to this person. That's a safe person to actually be met by. Oh, that's a safe gym to go move a lot of anger out, right? For the parts that are being missed. Like, that's a safe place to move it. Got you. That's the direction it gets to go in. So this is why we're going to meet here every single Tuesday, is to keep cultivating this reach, this miss, and it coming back and actually being met and having a healthy channel to move through. So we can be in this deep cultivation of relationship within our own self, within yourself. And with other. And when you have these tools, right, divine, like masculine, feminine in your own body, and you can hold these places and meet yourself. And this is where we're cultivating the qualities and abilities for a successful relationship in anything. This is it. This is how you go through the world and you stay in this connection. You have a great meditation and you're like, oh, but I went to work and I lost it again. Well, yeah, you have other parts that are working at work. How do you stay connected? How do they all get to be enjoying your stream? How do they all get to be updated that they're not kids anymore? You're an adult with this amazing stream coming through. You're actually connected to source or God or spirit, whatever the word is for you. And that's how you're moving through the world. We got to update them. You probably weren't meditating at 12. You're probably pissed. You're getting rewarded on a grade being good. It wasn't just being rewarded because it's a deep connection and learning how to do work and like move through homework while being connected. And like that's what we get to do now. So learning this, and today's a framework day, but learning this and having these constant touch-ins, which we'll keep doing, is how we actually create these divine relationships. How we move to the next place.
And how we move to the next place. So we've started to sprinkle in to talk about the attachment styles, how we show up in conflict in relationship. And as Rob was saying, this is any relationship we can relate to. It could be our relationship to our beloved, it could be our relationship to a family member, to a friend, it could be our relationship to our work, our business, or perhaps our finances even. And so as we go into a little bit of this attachment theory, I want you, as you're listening, as you're watching this replay, as you're here with us live, allow yourself to open up your awareness a little bit. To allow yourself to notice if you get triggered at all, or maybe you're already triggered when we were talking about parts and how we can show up in a healthy and secure way, or how we show up in a not so healthy, not so secure way. And the parts work is invaluable because it allows us to notice if we're merged with that traumatized part, if we're merged with that distorted part, the part that's just trying to get its needs met, or we're able to recognize through a practice of awareness, that's what's happening. Noticing my body is going into dysregulation, noticing I'm going into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Noticing an emotion coming quickly and having the awareness to see it, to hear it coming, and then make a choice to respond in a secure way. And so these attachment styles, I want us to think of them as ingredients. They are not boxes that we get to inhabit. You might have some fearful avoidance over here, and then you might sprinkle in a little bit of anxiousness. And in a relationship, there may also be some level of security there. So we'll start with secure attachment. And maybe you can think of the healthiest relationship that you have in your life, the one that feels the safest. Maybe it's that friend that you can really bring anything to, and she or he will just be completely present with you and be able to receive you and hold you and respond to you. And so security has that foundational safety, has that awareness to be met. And so in secure relationships, there's a lot of confidence. There's an element of reciprocity, of exchange, of feelings, of ideas, of presencing, of love. It's non-reactive. And what that means is that it's a space for you to respond from a place of regulation, from a place of safety. And there's also a resiliency in secure relationships. What that looks like is that for Ra and I, there's a resiliency in the security of this relationship, meaning so many things can happen with our finances, with our housing, with our children, with our family members out there. And the resiliency here is always present. And so these different attachment styles, again, you may identify really strongly with one of them, but it's important to know to not just identify with that one. It's really important to notice from a physiological, from a body standpoint, of how is my body responding? What are the emotions that are coming up? And then how am I reacting to conflict when things don't go well? When you reach for that person, when you're reaching for connection, for love, for someone to hear you or to understand you, when you're reaching and that reach doesn't get met, that person turns away, that person reacts to you. Why are you reaching at me? What's wrong with you? They react in a way that creates a conflict in you. And so as you experience the oh shit, this is not going well. Oh shit, this is a conflict. Like I'm not getting my needs met. How do we react to that? And that's the attachment style. So there might be with anxious, preoccupied, there's a lack of nurturing. That's where that comes from. And I just want to remind all of us on this call that this is all our parents' fault. This 100% comes from our core relationships, our caregivers, our parents, the people that raised us, the people that were responsible for us as children, when we were the dependents, right? We were looking to our elders to care for us, to lead us, and to teach us, and to help us learn these levels of security. And so I say that jokingly, but it's absolutely true. It comes from our parents and our ancestors. And so with the anxious preoccupied, there's an emotional hunger. There's a hunger to feel this connection. And it can become distorted into a fantasy bond where you might have stories of how you are wanting to be met or how you're supposed to be met. And that's just not the reality of what's happening. And there might be obviously a lot of turbulence with this style. Another one is avoidant, fearful. So with this one, there may be a lot of internal conflict. You are faced with a conflict, you're reaching for that connection, you're reaching for that person to meet you. It's not being met. And so you go inside, you avoid the conflict, you remove yourself out of fear. And there's a lot of inner turmoil, inner conflict. There might be a lot of drama. And there may also be a lot of ambivalence, right? It's like, of course, I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. Fuck it. I'm leaving. This isn't working. It's never going to work. I'm never going to get my needs met. And so you just leave. There's also dismissive avoidant, the other ingredient that sometimes we love to sprinkle in, right? Where it's, again, there's also ambivalence here. And isolation, right? You're isolating yourself from the conflict. And again, these ingredients, these attachment styles are strategies for survival. I want to bring I invite you to bring a lot of love and compassion for how these attachment styles show up in your life. Because they show up to really protect you from further trauma and further harm. And so they really serve you. And so I'm bringing in a little bit of just like divine masculine of, yes, and there's love for you too here. Even in your isolation, allowing yourself to notice from a place of loving awareness, this attachment style and this part are just trying to protect me and protect what's sacred, which is this being, this heart, this love. And then there's also the ingredient, the attachment style of disorganized, where there's a lot of feelings of unworthiness. There's a tendency towards aggressive or antisocial behaviors. There might be lashing out with anger at conflict because there's just a lot of confusion that's coming from a place of unworthiness, of I'm not good enough, or I'm bad or wrong. And so intimate relationships can feel really confusing. And so just if we can hold in our awareness all of it, right? These attachment styles, these young parts of ourselves, they're there to serve us and protect us. And they give us the opposite of what we truly want and desire in relationship. They're at the same time simultaneously in service, in deep service, to protect what is sacred and to protect what we hold dear. And at the same time, they are sabotaging and they are taking us away from the possibility of security, the possibility of thriving in a safe and secure relationship. And again, this is a relationship with your beloved, a core relationship, one that you deeply care about, and also relationships to money, relationships to our businesses, relationships to the things that we care about and that we are attached to. And so these foundational frameworks are really important because these are the things that are happening all the time, whether they're in our awareness or not, whether we have the separation to notice it as a part or we are merged with it. This is what is happening in all of our relationships.
Just a big breath of that.
Yeah, and just notice if you're feeling activated or triggered. Yeah, just bring a little love and compassion to yourself, to what you're dealing with right now, whatever it is that you're working through. I know life is full of relationships that work and ones that don't. So I know that anyone who's listening here has at least one relationship that I'm sure they would love to have more security and safety in, such is life.
Yeah. I just really recommend if there are any parts of this just to rewind to or to replay for that you're like, oh, I want to actually remember that. Because we're creating this foundation so we actually don't need to keep repeating it over and over again as we dive deeper throughout the next videos. You actually get to be in it and get triggered and have more transmissions. And this is so important that we actually understand. You actually understand, you know how to identify, oh, that's this part coming up. Oh, as I walk through the world, oh, wow, that's an anxious attachment style. Oh, I'm afraid when they're leaving. Oh, I got anxious. You're like, oh, that's how I'm navigating. Someone offers for you to spend money on an amazing course, and you're like, oh, no, I don't have enough of that, even though you have a whole savings. account or tons of stocks. You're like, I have no money though. Oh, well, it's a wonderful attachment style. Let's get to know it. What a great pointer for you. It's an invitation of, oh, what's getting activated right now? And so many of you know a lot of my work is with the ancestral field. So as Dylan was saying, right, like this isn't your fault. This is your parents' fault. Yeah, and their parents' fault, and their parents' fault, and their parents' fault, and all the way back where there was some rupture in the field that disconnected your ancestors from the connection to God and divinity. Because at some point, your ancestors were thriving. At some point. It was a group, or you had one that was like a priestess or a god or a goddess that has amazing gifts that you are connected with. And when you tap into your own divinity and your meditation and your seed of wisdom, you're like, oh, this is so good. Yes, and there are ones behind you that also have that access, that also tap into that. And then something happened. Not sure what now. If you ever want to work together personally, we will find out. Extremely fun to find out. And in that rupture, there is a disconnect. And then it most likely, my experience, is not safe anymore. And when we're disconnected from the divine, right? We're disconnected from that receptivity, that rested place of well-being. Well, that's when havoc starts. That's when these inner child parts are running wild. And you can't have a 5-year-old making big decisions. We have a 5-year-old. She can't make really any decisions that are small decisions. I want to be like, where do you want to move? She can't, no. Let's fly on the floor. There's too many options. Or she'll give somewhere that makes no sense because she's 5. And that's how we get to notice, right? Even when these parts are coming up, we're like, oh, what age are you? Oh, okay. Cool. How do we actually treat and act towards that age? How much responsibility do we give that age? And so that's what's happening up the line as well. Wherever the rupture was of disconnection gets passed down, and this energetic field gets passed down and passed down and passed down until it's liberated. And the most beautiful and intimate and scary thing about creating secure attachment and diving deep is the safer you feel these little parts that have been bound, just been stuffed in there, never talking, never sharing, never acting their age because it wasn't safe. Well, they start blossoming and unfreezing in time. And now all of a sudden you have a rapid, raging 6-year-old in this adult body that you've never met very intimately. You didn't even know that they were so expressive. They were so fiery. They wanted to point fingers and scream and be hysterical. And in that, we get to keep loving them, right? So these are these moments where, in our connections every week, working privately, we actually get to meet these reaches. And they can almost get to unthaw, like in time, where those young ones in us are frozen. And they're upset and their anger and their emotion that was never expressed. And then as they feel safe, they go crazy and they start thawing. And then we need to meet them. We need to have safe places for them to express. And so this is the same with our ancestral line. When they're not met, they're actually frozen in time. And when they find someone down their line that can connect with them, they go crazy. And in that craziness, it may be that they're actually screaming into your field, hey, this isn't safe. I'm protecting you. Hey, you can't ever make more money. It's not safe to share yourself. You're like, oh, I really want more money. Like, what's keeping me from it? You're like, oh, all this protection and wisdom from over here. It's like right here in your field because it's this energetic entanglement, like knot that's getting pressed down. And it's just like as you are freeing the inner parts in you, same with down the line. Actually get to be freed and you get to keep coming into this liberation of that true connection and resource to self, where that divine mother and father within you gets to keep being activated and present. Like every part of this is so crucial when we talk about we're not perpetuating ancestral trauma, not perpetuating family trauma. Well, it's all these choice moments. And it's like with so much loving kindness, like everyone down your line, they just did better and better, but they're not connected. They're not in that safe resource part. They're not in that frequency to their true self and essence, right? Just like when you have a reaction, right, how much care and understanding do you need? Because that wasn't really you. And it's hard. And you're doing the best you can over and over again. And life is hard. And the relationships are hard. The kids are annoying. Whatever could happen, you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to sound like my mom. Ew, I did it. Yeah, of course you did. That's who you were shown to do a relationship by. Of course. I never thought I was going to marry that quality in my dad. Of course I did. I love my dad. I think he's amazing. For so long, he was my God. He was amazing. He was the person I wanted home all the time. If daddy was home, everything was better. Of course there are qualities that I did. Of course there are qualities I married that are my mom. And then I get to reconfigure them with secure attachment with a beloved that I get to share my life with that's committed to doing this work and untangling that karma, that load, those relationship fields that I actually do need to work out because I fell in love with them. So I'm going to keep attracting them. My young ones love being treated that way. Why? Because that's how I was treated. My young one loves performing, loves doing lots of tasks and being rewarded. Does my essence love doing that much? No, not really. Not at all. To meditate and be still and like enjoy being outside for a really long time. And there are so many ages in me that are trained and love and get off on doing and fixing because I'm so rewarded by it. And that's how I got all my love. I'm really good at it. Managers love me. I love managing. And it's actually not connected to that place of my truth and essence, right? So as I can go back and even reconfigure in this wonderful relationship who I really am, because I get to be mirrored in that way, and I get to do the own work with myself of who I really am and what parts are being activated. And then I get to heal the relationships with my parents because they're open and willing, and that's I'm really grateful for that. And then I also go back into my line, my ancestral line, and I give that back. The doing, the shoulding. So much religious shoulding in my line. And that's okay. And there's a lot of grief, in all honesty, and for myself, my own part, that's real. And that's what's here. And there's so many blessings I do have for my ancestral line. And I have this amazing beloved, and I've had this amazing family. And so much is so good, and there are these places where there's this box that wants to go on top of me, and I'm like, oh, this belongs to you all, this box. Oh, you really like your boxes. Thank you. Like, with so much love, thank you for loving your boxes. I'm here today. Thank you. Thanks for working so hard and making babies so I could be here today. But, oh, you take your box back. It's okay. I love you, but you can have the box back. It's been so much of the work right now in my own personal line of what's happening. Like, have this box back. And it's with so much love and devotion because I get to be the child. I get to actually be in my place of, hey, I'm their great, great, great granddaughter. I'm not here to fix them. It's not like, hey, you all, like, look at this access I have. I know so much more than you. You didn't have it. They didn't want it. They loved their boxes. Sit with them often. They love their box. Okay, people love their boxes. Sure, you have friends here, you walk around your neighborhood and people live in their boxes, doing their really regular box life, and they're so happy. They're just thriving, mowing their lawns and doing their things, and they look so happy about it. To me, that's not what success looks like. If I owned a house with a picket fence and cut flowers on the weekends, I don't want that. But I love watching that they do. They're so proud of it. So it's not wronging. So even we talked about the attachment style, and it's like, oh, that's from our parents. Like, it's their fault. Yes, and with so much love. Great. Now you get to move through the world with that deep protection that those patterns and those attachments styles even gave you. And that wisdom of, oh, I actually don't want that. Thanks, mom and dad. Thanks, grandparents. I actually don't want that. Oh my gosh, I would never touch someone the way that people touch people down my line. Thank you for me viscerally knowing what a no I am to that. Thank you. Right? Your no is so cultivated because you viscerally know what a no. You're never letting that happen and you are never going to touch someone that way. And why did your soul need that lesson? Like that deep visceral knowing? I don't know. But it's from like that place of getting really curious of like, oh, why did you need to know that? Why was that lesson really there for you so you could know it within your whole DNA and veins that that's such a repulsive, like violation? No. Like that's where we can get really curious. And I invite you to sit and get really curious because in that place of understanding, that's where the compassion comes in. That's where that true, like divine Christ heart starts opening up and breathing through, and you're like, I'm a no, right? The divine papa, no to that ever happening, and the divine mama being like, oh, thank you for that wisdom and gift. I love you so much, even though you did those things, all those, even though you did all those things, I love you, and the divine papa, and I'm such a no to that. None of that's okay, and there's love. So that's this relational field that we're making over and over and over again. And then every week we're here and we're just going to dive deeper. How do we actually be cultivating that? And whether you work with us one-on-one, where we can really go into your field, we can actually untangle these things, actually be meeting on a very personal level of these healings. Or you want to work with both of us, I'm going to drop the links in the chat. But there's we're still here in this group field every week on these larger layers because this is so important. Where we're actually coming into these union codes within our own body, and within that, this Christ heart just keeps coming to me. All my nighttime, all my meditations, the clients I'm working with right now in their field, it's incredible Christ heart of what gets to happen in true union and how important that is to just be seeding and spreading through the earth right now, that with so much love and compassion, we get to claim it here in our human bodies. I'm going to drop these links. Anyone does want to work with us or have a connection call just to see more and learn more about their own specific line, just to keep doing this work. Yeah. And once again, if there's anything right after this that you're like, oh, this is this topic that's come up for me this week. Here's this thing that I'd like more support with. Oh, thanks, Lisa. Here's this thing I'd like more information of, or I'd like to hear from the group, or I'd like to presence. Please just email us. Like, we are completely in the alive field. Like, all of this just comes from nighttime meditations of where I keep being pinged, and Dylan keeps being pinged in our sleep space of where we're going with this, and then how necessary it was to ground some foundational things so we can actually start diving deep into this work in this group. So if something's pinging for you, we're in the alive field, and you're like, oh, I come on Tuesdays, like, or even if you don't, and you're like, oh, this is the thing. This is coming to me. Please, please email us.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Maggie. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were right here to listen and like adjust and attune and be like, oh, wow, what they're pressing into, what they're feeling. Oh, that's so important. I just wasn't getting that hit in my own personal field. And we're in our own lives with our own kids, with our own clients, a
Mhm.
lot of people. So if you feel something, let us know, please.
Yeah, we're really here for community. We're here to build a healthy and thriving community and to become interconnected where we're all supporting each other for a brighter future for humanity, for ourselves, for our families, and for all of our brothers and sisters out there. So thank you all for showing up live today, and thank you all for listening, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah. Mm. Yay. Oh, thank you.
Bye, everyone.